Very good morning to everyone. Greetings from Quest Zero. Our series on finite element analysis will commence with the present video. We'll begin with the analysis of bars. The analysis of bars in one dimensional. Before we proceed to the numerical examples, there are certain steps that we need to take as part of the analysis. We will look into what are the steps that we need to go through. Whenever a problem is given, we will first model the problem into a finite element. So this is the first basic step in any finite element analysis, wherein the given problem will be modeled as finite elements. So once we have modeled it as finite elements, we generally, since it is one dimensional, we'll consider only linear elements. We'll formulate the elemental stiffness matrix for each element that has been created. So it is formulated by or calculated using the formula small k suffix small e is equal to capital A suffix small e, capital E suffix small e divided by small l suffix small e, in brackets 1, minus 1, minus 1 and 1. Now small k represents the stiffness matrix for an element, small e represents the element number, capital A represents the cross sectional area of that particular element to which we are calculating the stiffness matrix, capital E represents the modulus of elasticity or elastic modulus, small l denotes the length of that particular element. Once we have formulated the element matrix, element global matrix, we will assemble all these elemental matrices to form the global stiffness matrix. So if suppose there are three elements, we will first find out small k1, small k2 and small k3, which denotes the stiffness matrix for element 1, 2 and 3. After that we will write we will add all these three and formulate the global stiffness matrix, which is represented by capital K. So once we have the global stiffness matrix, we will formulate the global displacement vector. So global displacement vector denotes the displacement at all the nodes that are present in the system, and global load vector is also formulated, which will be denoting the forces or loads acting at all the nodes in the system. Once we have formulated the global stiffness matrix, global displacement vector and global load vector, we will obtain the equilibrium condition, which is given by capital K into Q equals F, where capital K denotes the global stiffness matrix, capital Q denotes the global displacement vector and capital F denotes the global force vector. We'll then apply the boundary conditions. What are the boundary conditions? Suppose a node is fixed, we will represent the displacement at that particular node to be 0, or if there is any provision given, there is the maximum displacement that can occur for a node, we will enter those. Once we have entered the boundary conditions, we will proceed further in two methods. One method is called as penalty approach method of handling the boundary conditions. The other method is called as elimination method of handling the boundary conditions. So both the methods will give a slightly different solutions, but again the easiest method in terms of time consumption as well as computation is the elimination method. So what do we do in elimination method? Suppose a particular boundary condition, when we apply that, the corresponding rows and columns in the equilibrium equation we will eliminate and proceed further with the computation. So this is elimination method. Probably you will get an idea when we solve problems based on this method. As well as in penalty approach method, this is a slightly different method, wherein in the global stiffness matrix we will note down the element which has the maximum value, and then we calculate capital C, which will be equal to the maximum, the highest value element in the global stiffness matrix multiplied by 10 to the power of 4. And once we have calculated the value of C, we add these to the displacements which are or boundary conditions which are known, and also we will make some modification to the global load vector by adding CAI, where C we have calculated, A represents the displacement at that particular node. Suppose F2 is the force that we know, and we add CA2, where A2 represents the displacement at node 2. If it is fixed, then generally it will be equal to 0. Again, penalty approach method, probably will get a better idea when we take up the numerical examples. So once the values of the displacements are obtained, the stress as well as the reaction at the supports can be easily obtained. How do you obtain stress? We use the formula sigma equals capital E suffix small e divided by L suffix small e minus 1 Qi and Qi plus 1, where Q represents the displacement at I represents the node number. If it is an element 1 to which the stress is being calculated, then Qi will be Q1, Qi plus 1 will be Q2, assuming that the numbering given for the element 1 node are 1 and 2, and it is only there are 2 nodes in the element. And reaction at the supports are obtained from the equation R equals K into Q minus F. So we'll take a simple example to begin with. So the example or the question is as follows: an one-dimensional bar subjected to axial loading is as shown in figure, taking it as a single bar element. So he's suggesting that we need to model the finite element as a single element model. Determine the nodal displacements, stress in each element, and reaction at the support. So how do I model this? I will draw a linear element. So this will be one node, this end will represent the other node. If I call this as node 1 and this as node 2, then length is already given as 1000. The values are known. Element we represent it by a number encircled, wherein you will encircle the number. The nodes we represent it without any encircling. The other details of this element, the E value, A value is given. So we'll proceed further. At node 2 there is a force acting. Force F2 acts. F1 there is no force. F1 represents the force at node 1, there is no force. F2 is the force at node 2, which is given as 10 kilo Newton. So this is the finite element model, and again we will represent the displacement as at node 1 as Q1 and displacement at node 2 as Q2, and we assume the displacement, the x direction of displacement to be the normal right side direction. So with these data, the second step after modeling the finite element is to calculate the element stiffness matrix. So element stiffness matrix, it is given by the equation K suffix E equals A suffix E, E suffix E, L suffix E, 1 minus 1 minus 1 and 1. For this problem where the element is only 1, the given element is only one element, we directly calculate the stiffness matrix, and the same elemental stiffness matrix will hold good as the global stiffness matrix. So after substituting the values of A suffix E, which is the cross sectional area 10 to the power of 4, into the value of E, which is 200 GPa, we will convert it into MPa. Why MPa? Because Newton per millimeter square is the unit for all other given data. For example, length is given in millimeter, the Newton is given as the force. So 200 into 10 to the power of 3 MPa or 2 into 10 to the power of 5 MPa. So 2 into 10 to the power of 5 divided by length of the element is 1000. 1000, 1 minus 1 minus 1 and 1. Once you calculate all the given data, 10 to the power of 6 into 2 is what you will get for this entire term. 2 into 10 to the power of 6. But I'll keep 10 to the power of 6 outside the bracket and multiply 2 inside. So why do I do this? Probably in the further examples you'll get to know. We try to keep a certain power of 10 as common, so that suppose there is a second element and the stiffness matrix for that is also being calculated, while computing the global stiffness matrix we need to add all the element stiffness matrices. Hence we'll try to maintain the term outside the matrix to be common for all the element stiffness matrices. 10 to the power of 6 in this case I kept it as common. 2 into minus 2 minus 2 into 2. The 2 whatever comes out I will multiply into the matrix. Now the global stiffness matrix, as I told you, since it is only one element now, the global stiffness matrix will be equal to the element stiffness matrix itself. So it will be equal to 10 to the power of 6, 2 minus 2 minus 2 and 2. Now global nodal displacement vector is given by Q equals, since there are only two nodes for the one element that is formulated, Q1 is the displacement at node 1 and Q2 is the displacement at node 2. So global displacement vector is obtained. Now global load vector, the global load vector is given by F equals F1 and F2, where F1 denotes the force at node 1, F2 denotes force at node 2. Equilibrium condition for the bar is given as the equation that we had seen in the steps in solving the problem, K into Q equals F. So multiply global stiffness matrix into the global nodal displacement vector and equate it to the force vector 0 and 10 into 10 to the power of 3. Now here F1 was 0, at node 1 there was no force, so this is 0, but F2 it had a value which is equal to 10 into 10 power 3. The same has been written in the final formula. Now once we have formulated the global equilibrium condition, we apply the boundary condition. If we see the problem, the node 1 or the left hand side is fixed, so displacement at the fixed node is 0. So Q1 is 0, which we have noted, and we use the elimination method for handling the boundary conditions. So what do we do if we want to use the elimination boundary condition? In this equilibrium condition, Q1 is known. Since Q1 is equal to 0 and it is a known boundary condition and it lies in the first row, we try to eliminate the first row and first column in the equilibrium equation. So in this equilibrium condition equation, if we eliminate the first row and the first column, what remains to us is 2 into 10 to the power of 6 into Q2, and this is equal to 10 into 10 to the power of 3. So if I calculate it, it is 2 into 10 to the power of 6 into Q2 is equal to 10 into 10 to the power of 3. Simplifying this, I'll obtain the value of Q2 as 0.005 millimeters. So now the displacement at node 2 is obtained. There is no further things to determine from the finite element model that you had created. F1, F2 is known, Q1, Q2 is known, as well as the global stiffness matrix. We have all the values. Now since we have the displacement, now we can calculate the stress in the element. This the nodal displacement vector we can represent as 0 and 0.005, wherein 0 represents the displacement at node 1, 0.005 represents the displacement at node 2, wherein the unit millimeter is missing in this equation. So stress in element, we know the formula, sigma equals E suffix small e by L suffix small e minus 1 1 Qi and Qi plus 1. As I told you, I represents the node number. So for the element that we consider, the first node is 1 and 1 plus 1 is 2. So Q1 and Q2 are the displacements. Q1 value is 0, Q2 value is 0.005. Now when I substitute that, I will obtain the value of stress in the element as 1 megapascal, and I believe that you will be familiar with the multiplication, matrix multiplication, hence I will not deal with this. You can directly calculate and know that the value of sigma is 1 megapascal. Next, calculating the reaction at the support, we use the formula R equals K into Q minus F. So since R is again a vector, the force vector, reaction force vector, R1 denotes the reaction at node 1, R2 denotes the reaction at node 2. So K value 10 to the power of 6, 2 minus 2 and 2 multiplied by Q value, where Q1 is 0, Q2 we have calculated it as 0.005 mm, minus F value which is given at node 1, F value is 0, at node 2 F value is 10 into 10 power 3. Now simplifying this, R1 you will obtain it as 10 into 10 power 3, R2 you will obtain it as 0. I'll just briefly go through the multiplication process. 10 to the power of 6 I'll keep it outside. Matrix multiplication, whatever we have studied, 2 into 0 is 0 plus minus 2 into 0.005. So what is 2 into minus 0.005? The value that you obtain is minus 0.01. Minus 0.01 into 10 to the power of 6 that exists will give you 10,000, or 10 into 10 power 3 minus. So minus 10 into 10 power 3, this minus 0. So that will be minus 10 into 10 power 3, whatever we have obtained. Now for the R2 term, we'll multiply minus 2 into 0 is 0, 2 into 0.005. So 2 into 0.005 will give you 0.01. So 0.01 plus 0 will be 0.01, and multiply 10 to the power of 6, which is kept outside the brackets. So 0.01 into 10 power 6 will give you 10 into 10 power 3 minus, there is one more 10 into 10 power 3. So 10 into 10 power 3 minus 10 into 10 power 3 will give you R2 as 0. So I will not be dealing with the matrix multiplication further. So please go through your basics. In the further examples, these multiplications will not be explained in detail. Thank you for watching. Please do subscribe and share the video, and if you have any clarifications needed, please do comment in the section below. If you like the video, don't forget to click on the like button. Thank you.